Ragnarok is the third installment of the Thor series inside of the MCU, and this film is directed by Taika Waititi, and it focuses on the goddess of death Hela emerging in Asgard, trying to take over, become the queen. And while this is going on, when Asgard needs Thor the most, Thor is trapped on this junkyard planet called Sakaar. He's being held prisoner by this guy, the Grand Master, played by Jeff Goldblum, and he is also holding Hulk there as a champion fighter in these arena matches that he holds, and now it's up to Thor to try to get Hulk off this planet, go back to Asgard, and stop Hela before it's too late, before Ragnarok. Now, the Thor films are definitely regarded as some of the weaker installments of the MCU, but I actually am not too big of a hater on them. Like I said before, the only things I truly dislike in the MCU are Iron Fist and Iron Man 2. Like Thor the Dark World, a lot of people will say that's their least favorite MCU film. I think that's actually just a decent movie. Definitely has a lot of problems, but it's just a decent movie, you know? And I think the first Thor film is actually like a solid, like really good film. I think Kenneth Branagh did a good job despite Dutch angles and Darcy, but this film definitely looked like it had potential to be the best Thor film yet. Taika Waititi, director of a fantastic comedy, What We Do in the Shadows. I couldn't wait to see what he was going to do here because obviously he's a really funny guy, but I wanted to see how he was going to incorporate the comedy with the Thor elements, the overly serious kind of things that go on in the Thor movies. And it pleases me to say that this movie is definitely the most fun out of the Thor films. A lot of that is due to how Taika Waititi directed it. Apparently, like, a lot of this movie's dialogue is ad-libbed, and there's one character where I can be like, well, probably, yeah. But the rest of it, I can honestly say that it did not seem like there was a lot of ad-libbing going on, because it just felt so natural in the script, and it just felt like something that was scripted, but apparently a lot of the movie was ad-libbed. And I've had problems with ad-libbing in comedies before, but this movie I think is a better example of how to ad-lib, how to improvise on set, because it feels natural to the story. It feels like the characters would be saying this, and it's not just like Ghostbusters or Rough Night, where it's just like, oh, what's the funniest thing I can think of right now? It all feels like there's a natural flow going on, and to have that natural kind of feeling going on with the ad-libbing on your set, Taika Waititi, like, I don't know what he did, I don't know what his skill was to get it that perfect, but he nailed it. And if they're planning on making any other Thor movies after Infinity War or anything like that, I would actually like to see Taika Waititi come back. I think he's actually the guy who finally knows kind of the balance between the Thor serious elements, but kind of making light of it at the same time, because the treatment of the Thor character is the best in any MCU film. With the Thor movies, they're usually more serious, a little too overly serious, but then you look at the Avengers and there's those moments where like, alright, you have the Joss Whedon comedic dialogue going on. That's actually pretty perfect for Thor. He's funny. And in this film, they completely embrace the comedic style that Chris Hemsworth has as an actor. He is really funny here. Like, I really do think that Chris Hemsworth's comedic chops have been kind of held back for so long, and in this movie, he's been able to just be let loose with any comedic style that he wanted to have, and he was perfect here. The Thor character, he was goofy, but at the same time, it still fit with who Thor kind of is, and it's also just funny jokes that are perfect for the Thor series. It's nothing out of left field, jokes that feel like they should be in another movie or told by another hero. It all feels like it fits for Thor and the world that he's in. Also, Loki, obviously you can't really have him be a big villain anymore. As much as we love Tom Hiddleston's portrayal in Thor and the Avengers, you can't really keep having him do these villainous plots anymore. It's kind of tired. And in this movie, they actually kind of completely acknowledge that, because Loki is really funny here, funnier than any other MCU film that he's been in. And I think the studio and Taika Waititi had a really good self-awareness about themselves while making this movie. Like, okay, there's obviously a lot of expectations coming from this film because of what we've done in the past. Now let's try to change that, kind of subvert their expectations. I think they did a really good job with the treatments of these characters, especially Hulk, which is also my favorite portrayal of the Hulk in any MCU film. They have him talking like a big baby, but he's also funny. He's not an annoying big baby, he's funny. And how Thor and him actually work off each other, I think was perfect. I think they made a really good decision bringing the Hulk into this film, because as you already know, Universal kind of owns a lot of the rights when it comes to distributing a Hulk film, so they can't really make a standalone Hulk film for the MCU, but they can bring him in with other superheroes, and I think bringing him in with Thor, teaming them up together, I think that was perfect. These two characters work off each other very well, especially with just Bruce Banner. Because for a while there are moments where Bruce Banner is reacting to this strange new world that he's surrounded in, and he's almost kind of like if you planted an audience member just into the movie, they'd probably have the same reactions as him. Even though he is the Hulk and he's like this really smart guy, he's still having natural reactions to this strange place that we're on. Also, that's another thing I like, is that they're branching off. Besides Asgard, besides Earth, they're actually going to another place that we haven't seen yet. Like, we've been in Guardians of the Galaxy, but we haven't seen this planet yet. We haven't seen the Grand Master yet, who is also perfect. Jeff Goldblum. Oh my god. I don't know how they came up with this idea to have him play the Grand Master. It's something I would have never expected, but I'm glad they did, because it works so perfectly. Like, anyone else playing the Grand Master would never have been as good as what Jeff Goldblum brought to the table with his performance, even though it is just a lot of uhs and basically a lot of Jeff Goldblum isms that he's famous for. It still works. Like I said, Taika Waititi, even though this movie's really funny, everything feels like it fits in with the characters and the world that's presented, and that's perfect. The character of Valkyrie, played by Tessa Thompson, I thought is also a good addition to this film, even though I think they didn't really fully develop who she could have been, you know? Like, they set up a backstory, and it's kind of like, okay, she has a reason to be here, she has a reason to be fighting alongside Thor, but I feel like they just didn't completely deliver, for me at least. I've heard a lot of people just loving this movie, loving everything about it, and just for me, I just didn't feel completely satisfied with the character of Valkyrie, but overall, I think she was a solid addition. However, as far as the best, like, side character of this whole movie, Korg, who is pretty much just a Taika Waititi substitute, talks like Taika Waititi because it is Taika Waititi, and it has the same style of humor as Taika Waititi in something like What We Do in the Shadows. Korg was excellent. I want to see more of Korg. Like, I'm not sure if it's too late, but can we have Korg be in Infinity War? Because we know Thor is going to be there. Can we have Korg show up for that? Because he is so funny, but at the same time, he's also a badass. He fights alongside Thor, he can fight, he can tell jokes, his CGI looks good, you can have him be in other movies. And speaking of CGI, the entire movie, obviously, it looks really good. Like, we're traveling to other places in space, other worlds, lots of CGI going on, even the Hulk CGI character, like a Korg CGI character. This movie has some really good visual effects moments, except for one scene, and this is where we're going to kind of dive into some of the cons I had with this film, because I did not find this movie to be perfect. A lot of people are saying it's one of the new best MCU films, and I'd say that it's pretty good. I do have a few flaws, though. One of them is a scene where Hela, the goddess of death played by Cate Blanchett, there's a scene where she has to fight off a lot of guards, and when she starts to fight, you can tell that she's been CGI'd. Her CGI puppet is moving around fighting other CGI puppets as guards, and I was just like, oh no. And I get, like, Cate Blanchett has to wear these frickin' ridiculously sized horns that work for the costume, but of course when you actually have to have her fight, she can't really do that practically. The horns are going to get in the way, so CGIing is obviously easy, but it just looked really distracting because you can know that it's not actually happening. And there's another scene as well that I think didn't work like at all, and it's supposed to be this kind of dramatic like gut punch for the emotions, the feels, and I just really wasn't feeling it. I couldn't tell what it was. I don't think it was performance or anything. I think it was just more like editing and cinematography or something like that. Like, the scene, I can't spoil it, but it just felt really off to me, and it was supposed to be something hard-hitting. Also, the scene that I'm mentioning is shown a little bit in the trailers, and you can tell that in this movie they've like changed the background, like it's an obvious kind of reshoot. So maybe that's the reason why it just felt so weird to me. Another thing I should probably mention is Cate Blanchett as Hela. Now, we've had a long string of MCU villains not really delivering, but we just came off of Spider-Man Homecoming, which had the Vulture, Michael Keaton, and in my opinion, one of the best MCU villains. So I was hoping that you have someone like Cate Blanchett playing Hela, goddess of death. This should be really awesome. And she is a bit. Her performance is really good. One of the best MCU villain performances. As far as the actual character, though, I don't think she had enough screen time to really feel like she was that much of a threat. Obviously she is, because she has a ton of power, like they kind of just tell you that, and she expositions about how powerful she is, but it just doesn't really feel like there was a key scene that really stood out as like, oh, she's bad news, except for the one scene that looked CGI fake as all hell. She is definitely a step up, but I definitely left the movie wanting a little bit more of her. Also wanting more from a villainous kind of character, Scourge, played by Karl Urban. Now you have Scourge, Karl Urban, a character that's really popular, an actor who's really popular. I was kind of expecting a lot more, and the character is bringing to the table a psychological kind of message of like, well, I don't want to get killed by Hela, but I kind of have to work for her. It's kind of this kind of duality kind of thing, and I was hoping they'd explore that a little bit more so that by the end of the movie there'd be a good payoff. And it really wasn't. It didn't feel like they focused on it enough. It didn't feel like they did enough with Scourge to really feel like his character was even warranted. Like, it feels like they could have swapped him out for any character, for any actor, and that was really disappointing to me because I'm a fan of Karl Urban as an actor. I wanted to see what else Scourge could do, and they just didn't really do much with him. And to kind of wrap up my thoughts on this film, this movie is definitely a lot of fun. The action is a lot of fun. The Hulk and Thor fight in the arena, one of the best fight scenes in the MCU. It's honestly better than the one that Thor and Hulk had in the Avengers. It's so good, it's funny, it's cleverly written, it's wonderful. And a lot of people, especially ones that love DC too much, are gonna say, oh, it's just another Marvel fun fest, and there's nothing wrong with a movie being fun. However, for me, I think this movie could have had a really good balance of fun, but there'll also be this kind of emotional gut punch for the audience kind of near the end of the film, because they do something that is really out there that I was not expecting them to do, but they did it, and I was really thinking like, I feel like I should be more emotionally invested in this, but I could really care less, honestly. But I couldn't help but feel like walking out of Thor Ragnarok that even though I could definitely watch it again because of how fun it is and how clever it is for a lot of it, I just felt like I liked the first Thor movie a little bit more. And I might be crazy for saying this, because a lot of people are saying Thor Ragnarok is the best Thor film, one of the best in the MCU, and I just didn't really feel that way with Thor Ragnarok. And I like the movie, don't get me wrong, I like the movie, but I just felt like there was a little bit more that could have been offered, maybe a little bit more that could have been fleshed out. Like, there's this subplot with Valkyrie, and there was a situation with her that just felt like a no-duh kind of moment. It's her with another, I can't really spoil it, but it involves her and the realization of another character. I guess you could say that, and by the time they got to that moment near the end of the movie, it just felt like this feels undeserved. It doesn't feel like you fleshed it out at all, and it just makes the character seem stupid for not realizing this earlier. I am gonna give Thor Ragnarok a B, though. I do really like this movie, and I do want to see Taika Waititi come back to make another Thor movie if that's what they want to do. I enjoy what they did with Thor and Loki, the Grand Master, Korg, Valkyrie. I want to see more of, and I wanted to see more of Hela and Scourge, but those two kind of just left me a little disappointed. The action is a lot of fun. The visual effects are amazing, except for that one scene that was complete trash. But a lot of this movie, I feel like, there could have been a little bit more to kind of deliver a fantastic film experience for me, you know what I mean? And this isn't, I'm not trying to speak for everyone, I'm not trying to say that everyone needs to feel this way now because I'm saying it. I'm just saying that for me, I can't really understand where a lot of people are coming from when they say that it's fantastic, wonderful, perfect, because it just felt like there needed to be a bit more. But if you've seen Thor Ragnarok, leave in the comments below what you thought of it. And sorry for this late review. I saw this movie like last week, and I've been kind of delaying it because I've been in theater, and we're getting ready to do a show, and I still need to review Jigsaw, Stranger Things Season 2, and Season 1, I guess, wrote those into one video. And I'm about to see Murder on the Orient. I need to do videos. So, excuse these late reviews. They're coming. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.